My name's Mark Johnson. I'm a Superior Court judge in California, a retired Army colonel, and I've teamed up with retired Army Command Sergeant Major Gregory Coker, and we're here to help veterans. Hi. Welcome to another edition of Reaching New Heights with the Judge. My name's Mark Johnson. I'm a California Superior Court judge. Now, we're here, we focus on veterans, and this is part of our series helping our veterans and also their families cope with a lot of the trauma that comes from military service. I'm a retired colonel of the United States Army, also an Iraq War veteran. Now, the name Reaching New Heights with the Judge. I'm the judge. Now with me is retired Army Command Sergeant Major Gregory Coker, who runs the very successful and very helpful Reaching New Heights Foundation. Greg, if
Yes, and I'm Sergeant Major Coker, retired, Greg, and I run Reaching New Heights Foundation, a foundation that works with veterans. And one of the particular things we do is we work with veterans in the Veterans Treatment Court. And today we are honored to have one of our very successful graduates from Reaching New Heights in the Veterans Court, Kenneth Haley. And Kenneth Haley, if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Kenneth Haley. I'm a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps. I did a few tours of Iraq and Afghanistan, and meeting Sergeant Major Corker and Judge Johnson. I mean, it was a great experience, you know, and I'm glad I have it.
Well, Ted, folks, we're trying to do things that will help both veterans that are out there suffering and their families, the people that love them, get past this trauma in their lives. And Ken is a person who's done just that. Let me just say one thing. He's rather modest. When I just picked that up a second ago, he's rather modest. You know, Ronald Reagan one time said that people who don't see heroes anymore in the world, they just don't know where to look. Well, this guy is a hero. He won't say that, but he's the holder of 1 or 2 Purple Hearts from Iraq. A staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, has led men into battle a lot. And but I got to know Ken from being in our program, the Riverside County Veterans Treatment Court. It's a rehabilitation program for veterans who've gotten in trouble with the law. Ken is doing great nowadays. Let's just cut to the chase there. He's, like I said, he's a modest guy, but he's doing great. And go ahead, sir.
You know, and throughout this conversation with Ken, I think we'll get the opportunity to really get a chance to see Ken where he started from at the age of 17, the transition that he went through, and how what we call, in our eyes, would be a hero. We'll get a chance to experience that, but also getting to the point where he met us in Veterans Court, where he was probably, he might say, one of the best points in his life, but was for society was probably one of the darkest points. And so we'll get to have a great experience with Ken. And Ken, if you could just maybe start off with, you joined the military. When did you join the Marines? Sorry.
And I signed up 1999 April.
Okay. How old were you when you signed up?
Oh, I was 18 when I signed up.
18.
18 years old.
So 18 when you started your journey in the military. Why'd you sign up?
Well, I always wanted to serve my country and challenge myself, and I don't have a lot of family that is in the military, but I always felt that that's where I should go, and that's where I felt my heart was.
So did you enjoy that? Tell me a little bit about that experience, and what rank did you?
I loved being in the Marine Corps. I mean, it challenged me. I mean, it taught me everything that I needed in life. You know, it gave me the discipline that I needed. You know, the camaraderie with the guys. Like, I mean, everything that you could think of, like it provides. Like, it was a whole another world that it's really hard to explain.
Is that where you got the idea to dress? You, ever since I've known you, even in the dark days of what somebody call dark days, I've always seen you very professional and pretty sharp. Never known you not to be. Is that where you got that from, or is that just kind of your personal style?
Well, I mean, I fine-tuned it in the Marine Corps, because I mean you're pressing out your uniform, you're shining your boots. Well, I mean you don't have to shine your boots anymore.
Yeah,
but
it's changed.
before, I mean, I would spend 2 or 3 hours every single night shining my boots, pressing my camis, everything all by hand. Now I can just put it the dry cleaners.
There
It's
you
so
go.
much easier. But even before here, I was up until 2 a.m. just putting my suit together.
Wow.
Ken, I've heard, and I haven't asked you this question. I've heard if I walk into your home that your dress uniform is framed on the wall.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, right above my baby grand piano.
You were a career Marine, right?
Yeah, I did 10 and a half years, but I just plan on doing,
Yeah.
as long as I could. And then once a Marine, always a Marine. I
Right.
mean, there's no former Marines.
No, that I know. I've run in. I've almost got my butt kicked a few times by Marines by saying that. But now, okay, so you were a staff sergeant,
Yes.
10 and a half years. And do you mind talking about what happened in Iraq, in Fallujah?
Well, the first time I went to Iraq, we used the initial push. I was in 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. We used the very first unit. April 19th was actually my ex-wife's birthday that we went into. Went right in. We had the bombs drop at the border, and then we hit some heavy resistance right at the border on March 19th. And the very first day, we went 150 miles into country. We outran our supply unit. So we had to ration our chow because they couldn't catch up to us.
So you
But,
mean you were going so fast at the push, you ran out of food. You
Yeah.
had to change when they say ration the
We was
child.
drinking water out of the Tigris River.
Wow.
Ooh.
We all got dysentery.
So when they say ration,
I bet,
because
yeah.
typically they have you ration out 3 meals a day, but you guys had to change that because you were
we had
moving
a half
so
a
fast.
meal a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, whose idea was it to take water from the Tigris? I've seen the Tigris
Well,
River.
we did have the iodine tablets,
Oh,
but I
okay.
mean,
Still, that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty gnarly
I mean, that's
place.
not the worst thing. The worst thing is like our very first firefight. Guess what we had to do afterwards? We placed called the brass.
No way.
I swear to God, Sergeant Major Vines made us place call the brass after our first firefight.
Sergeant Major
Yep.
ought to be running a range. Now, out here.
Wow.
Wow.
Colonel Mundy remembers that.
Wow.
Policed up the brass.
We picked up every single brass that we fought. Yeah, we
I
fired.
don't want to irritate every
Yeah.
sergeant major
Well,
watching,
no,
but it's always
that
a
was the
sergeant
one thing
major.
that you always remember.
We're
'cause
trying to keep them focused. Keep them focused.
Yeah.
We call him Cut V because when he flexes his shoulders, like it was like a huge V.
I used to have a
Huge guy.
V, but I've been.
So keep going. Let's talk more about your time in Iraq on the first tour.
Well, the first tour, we went 150 miles in the country. I mean, the rules of engagements changed after the first 30 days because that was when we became control of the country. So we only did like it was mainly guerrilla warfare, mountain warfare. That there was small groups that would fire and then run away, and would fire mortars at us and then run away after ceasefire was called. But beforehand, we could, if people had weapons and were aggressive towards us, we could fire at them. But once the rules of engagements were changed, we had to be fired directly at before we could return fire.
How long were you in country that first tour?
The first tour I was in country, I think 10, 11 months.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on the forward party.
Okay. Start in on your second tour over there.
My second tour was in 2006. I was a sergeant at the time. We had a lot of new guys coming in, so it was a lot better because we actually had a place that had a base that you could sleep. You didn't have to do a 360 and dig your firing pits and stuff like that. So we actually had a wire to leave.
Yeah.
But the first tour, like there was no base at all. Like we one big 360, and you had no protection except for what you had in your squad.
Okay.
We didn't even have armor the very first tour.
Now, how long was that second tour? The second tour.
The second tour
from 2006.
was 9 months. 9 months.
Where were you at?
We
Based
was
in country.
near Albert Grabe and Fallujah. We was at the Highway Lincoln, which is like the cloverleaf area.
I've actually I was in Iraq during the time of all the Abu Ghraib prison scandal and all that. That was a mess.
Yeah, we was there
'Cause
after
I
all
was
that
one of the
stuff.
guys dealing with that issue with the local people.
Okay.
But okay, so that now that you got shot in that second tour.
Yes.
Okay, kid, tell us what unit were you with?
I was the 1-1 at the time. I was the first vehicle, so I did all the navigation. I was in charge of where we went, what path we took, and I mean, I was always getting hit with roadside bombs and stuff. So this day was a little different. I got hit by a roadside bomb, and the tire got blown off of our first vehicle, and we do what's called 5 and 25s. As soon as you get hit, you look for secondary devices and look for triggermen. So you get out, you walk 5 feet, you look around, and then you do 25 feet all the way around the vehicle. And then when I got out the second time, I got shot in the chest by a Dragunov sniper rifle.
Okay.
Wow.
And what you get shot? Did it knock you to the ground, or tell me what?
Yeah,
what happened?
it was like if someone was standing next to you with a sledgehammer and just swung as hard as they could. They hit me right there in the sappy plate. If it would have went just a half a centimeter to the left, it would have killed me for sure.
Now, a lot. Let's face it. A lot of people, if they're subjected to violence, they just kind of drop to the ground, or they probably
Yeah.
shrivel up. What did you do?
Yeah, what was going through
Yeah,
your
yeah.
mind?
What happened afterwards? Because that would
Wow.
drop most people, even if it didn't kill them. Just the stress and the shock and that.
Well, I mean, once I got back up because it hit me, it took my feet out from underneath me, and then my helmet flew off. I mean, I was pretty upset.
You're upset?
Because
I'm upset. That's a typical Marine.
it's like
I'm upset
I
about
was. I wasn't scared. I was upset.
my daughter was going to be born, and a few months later, I was thinking, 6 more weeks, I get to go home, and
Yeah.
and so when I got shot, I was like, you're going to do this at the end of the,
Yeah.
6 months or the.
At the end of your tour,
The
somebody's going to
rotation,
shoot
yeah.
you. Right.
Well, it sounds
And
like.
so I was
Yeah.
pretty mad. So instead of actually doing what I was supposed to do, I took off running after the guy that shot me.
Now,
and-
so you said instead of doing what you're supposed to do, what was the concept? And then tell me.
Doing like what in training. I mean,
Okay.
because as a leader, you have to assess the situation and then attack.
Okay.
You want to get your guys together. You want to get everybody on the same page, and then you attack. You don't
Okay.
just go.
So what did you do
headstrong.
then?
What I did, I was too mad to assess the situation and fill everybody else in on what's going on. So I just took off running.
So you were mad
towards.
you were mad at the guy who blew your vehicle up
Yeah.
and then shot you. Mm-hmm. So you were
Yeah, I was
pissed.
really upset.
Yeah,
I was
you were
really
pissed.
So what did you do?
So I took off running after the guy, and
Okay.
then I told my driver to go back to the truck so he was protected, and then my other guys they just followed me up there, and then we went up there and took the guy out, the sniper, and I then found out that I had shrapnel in my side and shrapnel in my
You didn't know it.
my shoulder.
At all.
I mean, I didn't really feel it at all.
Running after the guy.
Well, I think that's called leading from the front.
You think? With the bullet.
Sorry,
Yeah.
look, folks.
This is serious.
I was gonna say, we're sitting here laughing. I
It's not.
consider Ken a personal friend. He came through the program. I just want to make sure the laughing is just kind of brothers sitting down here talking. But obviously, it's not funny. But it. I don't know. I guess I like laughing about
Yeah,
it.
well-
Honestly,
well,
I like blowing off.
You can do a couple things, I guess. Laugh or cry.
Yeah.
But you got to take it serious.
I would
Yeah.
do it all over again if I could retire at 28 again.
Wow.
No,
She's like, shoot me twice if I could retire at 28.
Marine.
Okay. You were awarded a Purple Heart
Yes.
for the shrapnel, but your vehicle got blown up.
Correct.
You had a traumatic brain injury.
I went through 6 vehicles between my first and second tour.
You were awarded the Purple Heart for a concussion,
Correct. Yeah.
and you wouldn't. To this day, you won't wear it.
No, because I got one for the shrapnel, and then they tried to give me another one for a grade 3 concussion. It means you have to be knocked unconscious for longer than I think either a 1 minute or 3 minutes. And I won't wear it because I had a lance corporal that stepped on one of our cluster bombs from artillery that was left over, and he blew his foot off, and he wouldn't rate a Purple Heart, and I just
You
didn't
didn't rate a
feel
Purple Heart? Why not?
because it was a friendly fire.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And I believe that if you lose your foot in the combat zone, you know, and it was due to war, then I believe that he should rate it, you know, and he didn't. So I just like, you know, I won't worry.
Well, you know, Ken, I've known you for 5 or 6 years. I seriously hope you'll reconsider.
Since 2012.
Wow. I seriously
9
hope
years.
you will reconsider that decision. I can't. But
Well, I mean,
let me tell you that.
I don't wear the star on it, but I have my my V on it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the Marine Corps is kind of, they're pretty stingy at handing out combat medals compared to the Army, especially, well, never mind. I don't want to slam you, but I do think the Air Force gives them out a little more readily than, and then the Army is, but the Marines, I see Marine gunnery sergeants with 20 years in that have 2 rows of ribbons. And these are guys that had plenty of combat tours, and they're, you know, the Marines, you really have to do something like that.
And I hear you. I mean, you know, you are what they call a Marine's Marine, you know.
Well, we don't do the job to get ribbons or medals.
Yeah.
And it's just that, you know, you don't wear what you don't feel like that you deserve, or not only deserve, or like, it's not that, one Purple Heart is enough. You don't need more than that.
Yeah.
Well, good job, and we respect
thanks,
you.
brother.
And there's a lot of honor. Thank you for what you did, and you saved lives because of that. And so just thank you for sharing that story. So now you know. Any other questions on his service there?
Oh no, go ahead, Sergeant Major.
So
You take
now
it on.
we look at. So you get out. Were you medical? Or how was your transition? Because I want to start talking about the next phase where you came in and got a chance to meet us.
Yes.
So you trans out. Tell us a little bit about your transition out and what that looked like. Because I think you shared some. I wish you would have had connection for the trans out. Tell us what you think that should look like.
Yeah, like I retired medically, honorable medical discharge because of my PTSD and also my traumatic brain injury. They said that if I was to stay in, I would not be able to deploy again, and I wouldn't be able to do, you know, combat missions and stuff. And that's why I joined, was to be, you know, I'm not a desk type of person, and I mean, put me on a desk, that's like, you know, signing my death slip, you know. And it's just, I was like, you know, I can serve but I mean, I miss it. I do miss it. You know, I did 10 and a half years in. They gave me credit for 11 and a half. But, so after I retired, I didn't really know
what year was that, by the way?
I retired in 2008, July.
Okay.
July 2008.
Okay.
The biggest thing is like, because I was going through a divorce and losing the military also, you know, retiring. So I lost 2 families at the same time.
Amazing.
So it was very difficult. So, I mean, what I did was when I retired, I moved up to Washington State for a year because they had the best brain program there.
Okay.
So I moved up there for a year, and I just flew back every 2 weeks to see my kids and stuff. Okay. And so I stayed up there for a year, and then after a year, I moved back down here to where my children were.
So you immediately had treatment when you got out because you knew that there was some stuff that needs to be worked on.
Yeah, like, I mean, I had actually had to, like, relearn how to do, like, math and stuff and, like, basic things because I had, my wires were crossed because there was something called, like, shaking baby syndrome for adults.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, like, I had to relearn how to do things a different way.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's a lot better now. I used to be a rocket scientist, and I'm about as smart as everybody else.
I like that. That's good.
You are, okay, so when you left service, I know, are you 100% for PTSD now?
Yeah, I'm 100% for PTSD, and then total 290%, but they only pay me for 100% of it. But I'm still 100% for PTSD, and then I got my brain injury, which was 70%, and then all my other injuries and scars and stuff.
You got shrapnel. I'm just sorry, but you I think you pointed out one time. Where are your injuries at? You said shrapnel.
I got shot here. I got shrapnel right here. I got shrapnel here, here, and here.
Wow. So you can't go through the airport. I digress, guys. Through the airport without setting off that Neither.
No, not really. I mean, sometimes like my body will start to push some of the stuff out.
Oh, it's still there.
Yeah. I had
Whoa.
one probably about a couple years back that pushed out of my shoulder.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You telling me a piece of metal just came out of your?
Yeah.
I hope you
Well,
framed that thing.
it was a piece of from my vest.
Oh, okay.
Blown up.
It was
Kevlar.
Yeah, I think it was
Kevlar?
the clay,
Okay.
clay portion of it that just kind of just pushed. It was like a big, thick one.
Now, so were you working with the Veterans Administration? You're talking about going up to Washington for
I was
treatment.
with the VA, yes.
Okay.
I
So
was doing
VA
treatment
helped
up
you.
there,
Okay.
and the reason I moved to Washington State was because I was told that they had the best rehab
With the
program
VA.
for
It
with
was
the VA.
okay.
Because
And-
I wanted to get back 100% so I could get back in.
Yeah.
And
Tell us where. I think you were a solid dude. You were. I mean, you're a guy who enlisted in the Marine Corps. You're out to fight for his country. But I think your life kind of was getting off track, probably around the time of when 2009, 2010. I'm talking about. Tell us how you got into our court. And the Veterans Treatment Court deals. It's a probation program that helps veterans like Ken here. How'd you get to our court?
Well, after my treatment in 2000, from 2008 to 2009, I moved back to California, and I stayed on base. And just started. I didn't have a mission anymore.
Stayed on base.
Yeah.
Were you still active duty? Or
Well, no. I lived on I had like a huge 30-foot RV trailer camper, and I just moved from like the beach because I stayed on the beach for like a month, and then I'd go to the lake,
Yeah.
and then I'd move around to different bases and stuff like that.
Camp Pendleton?
Yeah, Camp Pendleton. Mhm.
Okay.
So I did that for a while, and got while I was looking for a house to buy and stuff like that, but I didn't really have a mission anymore because I started to feel my brain coming back, and my just the being able to think clearly again, and I got to where I didn't have a mission anymore. You
Yeah.
know, like
Mission.
my family, I was going. The divorce is over. So I felt like the mission of me being a father, I couldn't be 100% a dad 24/7, which that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach, like the little league and stuff like that, and take my kids to school every single day. And I mean, that's the things that I missed. I mean, I got to do it a few times, but not every single day like I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then in the military, I mean, that was who I was. Like that was my whole life. Like I loved it.
Your identity.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
yeah.
it was just like it was my family. So when I retired, and I lost two families at the same time, and then I'm going to the hospital like every single day for hours in the day. It was just that consumed my life.
Yeah.
And so I did get depressed while I was in there. So after a while, I was started to see treatment for my PTSD and stuff, trying
Okay.
to work through because I knew I needed to work through it.
Hey,
but I've
tell us
kind of
what
tried to force it.
PTSD was like for you.
Well, talked about PTSD is a post-traumatic stress disorder. It's something that a lot of military people have, especially if they have been in combat zones. But anybody can get it. Like it could be PTSD from a car wreck. It's a time when you have honest to God fear of your life or a stressful time in your in a situation. And I received my PTSD when in Iraq. Well, actually, the very first time was in April 8th, 2000, when 19 of my friends crashed in Yuma, Arizona. But
Were they killed?
Yes, 18 for the Osprey that I named my
Holy
son after, Jason Duke. Yeah, that was the first time that I got PTSD.
Just from hearing about what had happened?
Well,
or did you see it
I was
happen?
in the one behind him, the Osprey behind him.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm learning things I didn't know.
Right, I never knew
I
that.
didn't know that.
Wow.
You saw
Yeah.
18
yep.
guys die.
Yes. And this was way before the war. Way before the war. April 8th of 2000.
You know, sorry, I don't know if a lot of people understand the stresses we put on our military folks, even in peacetime.
And this is a training.
I know
Yep,
this training is rough. The problem is because we're trying to train people to go to war, and you can't go easy on
No,
that.
and you know, I always say, and I quote this, I said, there's only one reason to have a military: war. Period.
Yeah.
Everything else we get, school, fringe benefits. So I'm sorry, but that's
Go ahead,
my
Ken.
soapbox.
I got us off track. I just was stunned,
Yeah.
honestly. But go ahead.
But
Go on.
that was the first time I was that I knew I had PTSD. But back then, you didn't go to the doctors. You didn't do any of that stuff.
probably
you just
hid it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't tell people anything. And I was always that way, anyways. Even before the military, I always kept everything inside. But then 2003, well, the 9/11 happened. In 2003, we went into Kuwait and then over into Iraq with 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines. We was the tip of the spear. So we zigzagged and hit every single city on the way up to all the way up to Crete, which is 150 miles north of Baghdad. But PTSD, I mean, anybody can get it. It doesn't have to come from combat
But
zone.
tell me what were your symptoms? Did you like? I'll tell you. I one time in our veterans court, I had a guy who he would drive from Riverside to Pomona, 30 miles. It would take him about 4 hours because he'd take every side street on earth because he could not drive under a bridge. So, did you have anything like that?
My symptoms was like when I first got back, I couldn't be in a vehicle that was not a Hummer. So I bought myself an H2 Hummer. I knew it wasn't the same type of Hummer, but mentality, it was like I felt safe because I lived in 6 vehicles that, got hit by roadside bombs. So I felt safe because it was a Hummer, even though it wasn't the same type of Hummer. So I bought that vehicle, and so then I started to feel safe because I didn't feel safe being in vehicles at all.
Okay.
For the longest time. I used to set my alarm every 2 hours. So every single 2 hours, I'd set my alarm to make sure that it woke me up because I didn't want to get REM sleep because I didn't want to dream. And because I would dream just things that I didn't want to see. And so every 2 hours, I'd set my alarm. My wife at the time hated it because
And you were married when you were going through some of this.
Yeah, and then when I got back, I couldn't sleep inside the house. Like I slept in the garage a lot. I didn't want to be around anybody. I didn't want to be around big crowds at all. My mind, like my body was back into the States, but my mind was still overseas at war.
Well, a lot of these things, these are things that are actually have, I think, tell me if I'm right, they have a purpose in a combat zone. They have no function now in the civilian world. In fact, they're only
not even
detriments.
as a police officer. I mean, you don't have that, because the police officers they see it. I mean, these days they see a lot of negativity and like gun violence and stuff like that. But as a police officer, your first job is to keep the peace.
Yeah.
In the military, your job is to go over there and accomplish the mission of what you're supposed to take care of. And the mentality is completely different. Like we're trained to do a job that is not a normal civilian job,
Right.
and we do it well. We do
Sure.
it well, but we're expected to be a normal person when we come back.
What did it, you mentioned your wife didn't like the 2-hour alarm, and I know you're divorced. Did your PTSD contribute to that, getting divorced?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think it broke up your marriage, basically?
No,
or-
I mean, I think it was one of the large contributing factors of it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, whatever broke up a marriage was, individual responsibility and stuff like that.
Yes, true. But I mean, no, I am a firm believer in individual responsibility, but I also think sometimes really bad post-traumatic stress disorder, and I've met a lot of vets who don't even know they have it. This behavior has actually become normal. It's their new normal, and it ruins their marriage. And I don't I don't know. It's just tough. It's tough to find answers.
And I think you're right. I just think that a lot of times these things that you mentioned, like PTSD and the activities that come out of as a result of having that, just don't lend itself well to being back home. You've got these triggers and these things that have no use in today's society, but it saved your life. Because I remembered kind of driving and wondering if we had the concussion bombs in the place it was supposed to be, and you like, who put that in there? So your mind's always racing. But
and it's great while you're in combat. Like
sure.
PTSD, it works to your benefit, in a combat zone. But when you're not there, it changes everything. It really does, because your mind is still in the combat zone, but your body is here, and people don't understand what's going on with you. Like, I would get upset of just like really small things that had nothing to do with anything. Like taking out the trash or something like that. I would yell for no reason at all. Just because I had so much built up that I did not know how to express myself at all. Because in the military, there's one thing that we're really not taught to do. We're not taught to deal with our emotions and put the proper emotion with the proper actions.
Yeah.
So we're taught anger, we're taught action, we're taught chaos, we're taught mission accomplishment, but we're not taught how to properly put our emotions with the perfect actions.
It's funny you say that, because that's one of the things I struggle with as a judge presiding over veterans is I tell the male veterans, you've got to open up. We've got to get this stuff out in the light.
Well,
so
you got to surrender first. You got to surrender to
It's hard because it doesn't run. I just try to hopefully set an example. Sometimes I probably talk too much, but
I've always been like all or nothing. It's either 100% attack or not at all.
So how did all this translate into you coming to court? You ended up in court and some felony charge, some fairly serious charges. How did you get there?
Well, I started to see treatment before, because I knew that there was things that were going on that I needed help with to get, because I had anger inside me that I wasn't normally an angry person.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wasn't. But I went to anger management and graduated 3 times, and
3 times.
I taught the class eventually. And and then, but I mean, I was an inspiration for the guys that first going there, because he's like, I'm not getting anything at anger management. But then I was like, go the second and third time, you'll get something out.
Tight.
But it's just because the anger management, it's good because it teaches you how to break down your emotions and put the right emotion with the right thing. Because military strong men, you're not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to be sad, you're not supposed to be depressed. And you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to humble yourself, to take in what's happening right now with yourself. Because
in anger management,
if you fight your situation in these kind of situations, you're going to lose every single time.
Now I know, and like I said, you're doing amazing now.
Yeah.
Like I said, this gentleman, how many times do you hear of judges inviting a guy from the court to their home for a Christmas party? That's because I trust this man with my child.
Sure.
But I know you were using drugs at some point. I think the VA weren't they giving you a lot of opioids and things like that?
I was getting a lot of pain medications and stuff like that, because I was constantly in pain, but they would give them to you like candy. Like, it was just, but I didn't like taking them, but, in order to function, that sometimes I felt like that I needed them.
Yeah, I bet.
And, and it kind of numbed me a lot, and my mind wasn't my own when I was on the opiate medications.
Okay.
So, and I think that's a common thing that we hear a lot of times, is that, the VA gives a lot of medication, and to their credit, that they deal with some tough situations, and a lot of times
most medications
they try to bring it down
to not fix the pain,
yes,
but to manage the pain.
Right.
And the thing is, it's like the only way for you to get better is to manage yourself with nothing, because
Yeah.
Okay.
when you find out who you are when you're not on medications
Right.
at all.
Okay, got it.
And that's what I did
Sure.
when I was in the program. I was like, no more medications, no depressions, nothing at all, because I want to know who I am, and the only way to do that, to get to know myself, is to not have anything that altered my personality at all.
I'll say one thing in the Veterans Administration's defense is everybody was probably giving out too
Yeah, they
many
were.
opioids
Yeah.
10 years
Yeah, they
ago.
were. Yeah.
And the VA, including the VA, but they've
A lot
cut
of people
back a
didn't
lot
know.
now.
They didn't know
Yeah.
the effect
Yeah.
it would have on the country at the time.
So talk about how you got arrested and how you got to where you're standing in front of me.
Well, in 2012, I was going to the veteran centers to do my weekly PTSD counseling, and I was going through something called cognitive processing therapy.
Yeah, I know.
Which cognitive processing therapy, it's something that is very difficult to do. I had to relive and experience my worst traumatic events, and I was told to. It's a 12-week course program, so you do it for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
I was told to write a 6-page event of my worst traumatic event.
Yeah.
And I had to do that for every single trauma that I've had in my life. And I was supposed to write 6 pages. I wrote 18 pages.
Wow.
And it was very difficult. Like even writing it, like I remember crying. Like I have tear spots all over the paper. Like there's times I took my pencil and I would just stab the page, and you can see like the papers had trauma itself, because it was difficult to write it.
Yeah.
And being in that situation, like I had to be in my office, like nobody around at all, and I would sleep for 24 hours after I dealt with something like that, because anybody interacting with me would not receive a good vibe from me at all, because I was just not in a place to where I was in a combat mind, because cognitive process therapy took me back there. And so I was at week 6 or week 7. I didn't realize that after writing that, I had to read it. Writing it was hard enough, but reading it was I was dreading it. Like
Yeah.
it kept me up at night, having to read it, because being able to hear myself say it out loud made it real.
I detect it's even hard for you to talk about it now.
I mean, it's not hard to talk about it. It's just that it's to find the right words so people can understand how
maybe
difficult
Yeah.
it is when you're going through something like that.
Yeah, or maybe it's hard. It's hard. I care about you, and it's hard for me to hear you talk about
Right.
this.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
mind talking about it at all, because I know that anything that I do say may help somebody else.
And that's where we're at. We're
Yeah.
hoping. I'm
Absolutely.
hoping there's some wife or mother or the veteran out there that sees Ken here and realizes there's hope, because he's doing well, really well now. Yes. Now, talk about your first arrest that brought you before, and I as a judge, I'm not supposed to do this, but God bless Virginia Blumenthal.
Yes.
I think she represented you, and she
Yep.
fought like a tiger to make sure your interests were protected. But go talk about that first arrest.
Well, I got arrested the day I was supposed to go read my CPTSD or
CPT.
CPT, PTSD, CPT is
Yeah, I know.
but my CPT paperwork to my counselor at the time.
Yeah.
And the thing is that the girl I was dating at the time, I asked her to just to stay home and just try to be support and stuff like that. And I was going to sleep. I was going to sleep 24 hours before and sleep 24 hours afterwards, because I wasn't going to be a person that was in the right mind I need to interact with, because of what I was facing. Because I mean, it was harder than going to combat, having to read that again.
Wow.
And
wow.
I woke up and she was gone, and I kind of felt abandoned.
Yeah.
And then she came home drunk, and then I ended up like pouring gasoline on me and stuff like that. So she called the police, and the police came out. Nobody was home when the police came out. Then they just smelled gasoline, so they came into the house and noticed some items that I had that led to me arrested.
Some items you had. Just share a little bit about.
Well, I had it looked like an IED, but it was something that we used for a training device.
Like a training prop.
Yeah,
something
it's a training prop.
Okay.
And then I had a AT-4 rocket launcher, that casing that was already fired, and I made a lamp out of it. So, I mean, it looked like it was.
That's a real Marine.
So like
Yeah.
like civilians would see this thing and they were like, hey, that guy's
Yeah,
got a bomb,
yeah,
or this guy's got
Yeah.
a bazooka.
Yeah, so the
Yeah.
bomb squad was kind
Okay.
of came
Now,
out.
this stuff
and-
was illegal, I guess. It was.
Well,
or it was
it was legal, but it wasn't something that a normal person would have, because the AT-4 casing, it's inert. It's not illegal to own, but it's looked
Yeah.
frowned upon to have it.
I actually think it's kind of cool. I mean, I have
know,
a lot of weird
yeah.
stuff in my home. But
Yeah.
what? Okay, you had those two. What else? Was there drugs or anything?
Yeah, I had an eighth of a gram of cocaine and stuff, because I did use, because
Why were you using? Why were you using cocaine?
I started when I was going through the cognitive processing therapy, because I needed something to numb what I was facing. But that was
Yeah.
preventing
Yeah.
what I needed to get through, because it was numbing my feelings.
Let me say, because I'll just say this as a judge, and this is what I've seen, and also a lot of years as an attorney, is sometimes people who don't understand addiction, who don't understand the use, don't realize that the reason people use alcohol, the reason they use methamphetamine, is these things work. They actually work for a while.
Yeah, well, I didn't
That worked for a while,
I
but
didn't use because I was addicted to it. I only used because I wanted to be numb.
Yeah, you are trying to alleviate
Mm-hmm.
pain in there, and these things will do that. It's not a good idea to do it, but I can tell you.
And especially if you're taking medications for pain, and taking things, you're not in the right mindset.
I mean-
I'm glad that I went to Veterans Court, because it saved my life. But I just wish it would have went on other circumstances.
You kind of, I think what you were saying, you almost, and let me just say fast, our Veterans Court program is a collaboration between the district attorney, defense attorneys, probation, the Veterans Administration, mental health, and it's all kinds of what they would call wraparound services, but it includes a lot of treatment. And the Veterans Administration does a great job in supporting our court. And it's the kind of treatment a guy like you needed.
Yeah.
And it's too bad like sometimes, but problem is often people have to get in trouble before they get the treatment that they really need.
Well, because it's a structured treatment that you have like a command, you have a set time to actually decompress from the military. I mean, that's what you need when you first get out.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't have that, then you're going to hit barriers that are going to cause you problems. And
They used to throw. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
he
mate.
was saying something that was really key. So you were in treatment, seeking treatment, and you took an illicit drug to numb yourself to go into treatment more. And so this, to me, is that just kind of convoluted, structured service, because you were trying to do the right thing. Like, hey, I need to do this.
The guy, I mean, he's trying to
True
help
blue,
himself.
true
Yeah,
blue.
Yeah.
And so that caught you up into even worse scenario.
yeah,
You know, by you trying to get better. So you go and you got this cognitive, the statement that you need to write that was hell to write, but you needed something to say, I need to write this, but I need to get through this. So, man, there's just a lot of layers that's more complex than just somebody would think that this guy was just wanting to use, illegal drug.
Now you were actually.
people using illegal drugs normally are not going through treatment. Like,
Right.
they're not.
Yeah.
At least they might be going through drug treatment and stuff, but they're not going through like PTSD treatment.
Yeah.
Like if people that are using the drugs are avoiding talking about their feelings.
You know, Ken, I remember for about the first 9 months or so, there was always an issue because you were still getting the opioids from the VA, and then you test positive, and then, well, no, but it's prescription stuff, but then you got arrested a second time. How far were you into the 18-month program?
I think I went probably 8 or 9 months, so I was already at phase 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I was phase 2 or 3 at that time, and I got arrested again for it was a domestic violence call, and but actually at the time, like, I didn't do anything domestic violence, but that I was arrested because I was with somebody that wasn't supportive with what I was going through in treatment court.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be derailed from what I was supposed to be doing.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
Well, she was somebody that was doing things
Oh.
that
okay.
would cause me problems going through the treatment.
Well, let me say this. I'm not here to get anybody else in trouble,
Yeah.
but I'm taking I'll just say it. You don't have to say it. I take it she was using or something like that, or maybe.
Yeah, and she was.
Yeah,
it was
you
just-
can't have. I mean, obviously, we all know you can't do that.
She was an alcoholic and using and stuff like that, and like I can't be around somebody like that at all.
No,
you know,
right.
and like even though that I didn't have the urge to use, but she couldn't be around me at all.
I remember
and I would get upset about it because
Yeah.
it's my freedom is in jeopardy
Yeah.
for it, and that caused a lot of issues. So she moved her car around the corner and called the police and said that, you know, that I stole her car, and that's when the police came out. But they came out with like
Wow.
SWAT team and a tank and helicopter and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting. So how did that look? I think you told me that, you know, you were in bed, and tell me about that. And then the door or something. What was that?
Okay, when I was when the police came out to my house, they had like a little robot. They went up to my front door. It was in the middle of the night. They put a charge on my front door. They completely blew my door to oblivious, like it was destroyed. It woke me up at a dead sleep. I had no idea what was going on. Like I thought that I was back in, you know, a combat zone. So my first reaction was to take cover and assess the situation. So that's what I did. I jumped in my attic and I was up there. Then I thought that I was getting robbed. So the police came in my house and stuff like that and looked everywhere, and was never found. But I thought I was being robbed, or I had no idea what was going on in that situation.
You didn't know it was the police.
Exactly.
SWAT, I guess
so
it was.
I called the police myself when I didn't hear anybody
Yeah.
in the house anymore. And I was like, my house was robbed. I sent an officer out and have them come inside and then search before I come down. And so they sent, because they left the house eventually, I guess, because I had no idea that I had a warrant for my arrest. I had no idea. I didn't know it was the police that came in my house. But apparently, like 27 police officers came to my house, searched my house with dogs and everything.
Yeah.
And
That's the
I
problem.
thought I was being robbed.
They hear Marine, PTSD,
Yeah.
I was being robbed.
combat.
All of
you
this,
They
suddenly
came out
SWAT.
with a tank and
Yep.
SWAT and sniper unit and helicopter, everything.
and they didn't find you.
And they didn't find me, so I was up there for 18 hours. And then I called the police because they left, I guess. And
Yeah.
Because nobody was, so they had to send everybody back from Hemet, from Lake Elsinore, and from Marietta PD. All came back to the house, and then the operator said that it's okay to come down. You know, you can come out of the house now. And I was like, no, send the police officer in the house to make sure that nobody's in the house still. Because I thought they was coming out because I was calling somebody around my house.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know that they came in searching for me.
Okay.
So finally, the operator said, you know, nobody's in the house. You can come down. I was like, okay. So they said the police already searched, and he's like, come down. I was like, okay. So I came down, and then I left the house, and then I had big spotlight on me with the helicopter.
Whoa.
You know, and then, you know, like 30 cops with their guns drawn at me, and I walked out of the house. He told me to put my hands up, and my hands are up, and then
You got
you know,
arrested.
the-
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
got
they
arrested.
to set the dog loose, and then this all attacked me. I was like, what's going on?
I'm the guy to call.
robbed.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I thought was happening, because I had no clue. But come to find out, it was because they was there for me. It wasn't for the robbery.
That woman had called.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Because I remember. I hate to say it. I think I put out that warrant. I think I signed the warrant. You were on probation.
Yes.
And I got word. Whatever. I can't. I'm talking off the top of my head from about 7 years ago,
Yeah.
and I remember 8 years ago, and I think I had a notice of a violation of probation, and that would be what you normally did. And I remember Virginia, your lawyer, coming over to court
Oh, I remember that
because you
day.
were in custody,
Yeah.
and she was.
Well,
she wasn't
Fire and
leaving
brimstone.
until she got a favorable result.
Well,
Fire and
I
brimstone.
wasn't in custody
Ginger
because, like, as soon
Yeah.
as I got arrested, I bonded out.
Yeah.
And then I got arrested the exact same day, 5 minutes after I bonded out,
Yeah.
because I came home.
But so I remember it was kind of iffy. Okay, here's a guy. I think you got arrested on a felony. I think it was a felony.
Yeah, there was a few
and
felonies.
Usually in that situation, we don't keep people in veterans court.
Yeah,
but we did. In your
I was
case.
facing on being kicked out of Veterans Court because
Yeah.
of the domestic violence charge. Because if you get a charge while you're in the Veterans Court, you're not allowed to stay in because you're already on probation. Like, your second chance is Veterans Court.
Well,
You don't get a third chance normally.
Well, obviously there's some exceptions.
Yeah,
because
'cause-
here you are.
Yeah.
We
And-
kept
and
you
here's
in.
the guy
you
who
started
kept
the
you.
program over.
Right, yeah,
You started the whole. You had like
program.
8-9 months. You started over.
And then that was the
That
big
was
change
a
for
turning
me.
point.
Yeah, that was a big
because
change for
I
me.
really think, that I got the feeling you quit off of all
was a challenge.
opioids.
I remember that, too.
Because
It
I
was.
remember that was always a challenge. But I remember
With the
you
VA
were like,
was also a challenge
Yeah.
because him wanting to quit and not use those, that
Yeah.
was a challenge as well.
But that
So,
was
yeah.
a difference. That's when I think you probably hit like a bottom, but it was all uphill after that. You
Yeah.
were like a star performer.
Yeah, it wasn't the opioids. It was
Yeah.
the having somebody believe in me again. And
we
that-
engaged too as
that-
well.
That
Sure.
was that was what I needed in order to kind of start being
Yeah.
accountable to myself again.
Yeah, it's-
Because I was broken. Like, I was completely broken inside. Like,
Yeah.
because I was never the type of person. I don't talk about my feelings. When people come to me with their problems, I never
Right.
go to anybody else
You
with their
fix-
problems
you
at all.
fix others'
Right.
problems. Yeah, I know
like,
how that is.
like, I talk to nobody at all about my problems at all. Like, I fix my problems by myself, and then everybody else brings me their problems.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the type of person I was. So this was a completely different thing that I wasn't
Yeah.
equipped for.
Okay.
So when you started to believe in me and gave me another chance, I wrote a letter to you,
Yeah, I remember that.
saying that, I'm committed, 100%. Just give me this chance, keep me in. And you took that chance on me. And that chance that you took on me gave me what I needed in order to succeed.
And I think,
Because
too,
I was able to, I wasn't, the person there that was trying to derail me was not there anymore. I was 100% on my own. My mission was to get better, and
Yeah.
that was it. And then after you took that chance on me, it gave me the steam and then the purpose that I needed in order to succeed. Like, my purpose wasn't, a military or a mission. It wasn't family. It wasn't anything. It was, my purpose was just getting better, to find myself again and just to get better. And it wasn't just to kind of go through the motions and go through the program and get through the program, which some people do, but like, it was to literally actually find who I was again. I mean, I needed
Yeah.
to get to know who I was. I stopped my pain medications. I stopped my antidepressant medications. I stopped everything that could possibly alter the way my mind said. Because in order for me to know who I was, I needed to be raw.
Yeah.
And, you know, and one of the key things with that is that we engage too. So we run the mentoring program, and that was key. We used to talk quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you know, there's various ways to get through some things. And, you know, one of the ways obviously is, as Ken shared, that he stopped stuff. So we're not saying everybody just stop what you've got going on.
That's not recommended at all.
Not
recommended.
To go with the
Right.
doctor.
But
Don't
you-
stop medications
Hello,
without doctor.
say that again.
Yeah. Oh, well,
But we really engage. I know many a times I would have conversations with Judge Johnson about you and about how we engage with your attorney. And so that's the other thing. We run the mentoring piece. So when you do these things, you've got to have what we call an accountability partner. Somebody that you can account to and have conversations, which we had late at night. Somebody out there, and then there's different programs. And that's, I would just add, it's kind of key to doing these things is having somebody there that you can count on and have that conversation with. And it's really key to your success.
Yeah.
The success makes
Well,
it.
let me say this, and Ken then went through a program, graduated after 18 months. In fact, he was one of the speakers at the graduation. In fact, when he heard the story, my stepson rushed over, wanted to get his picture taken with you. We have these great graduations. And then 6 months after that, I reduced Ken's felonies to misdemeanors and expunged the convictions. He's doing great. He's worked as a mentor with our
he's
court.
went to
How
training.
on earth
Yeah.
did you get to that point from the guy who was, I mean, that you're a real success story. Get that point from the guy who was setting his alarm clock every 2 hours because he didn't want to dream.
Well, it wasn't after 18 months. It took me 28 months to.
Well, true. You're right.
It took me
you
28
took the long
months
way.
to.
But,
Yeah.
it's like, where did he end up? But it was a long journey for you, I think, for healing. And how did you do it?
It was. I mean, it was difficult. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, to focus on me, because me being focused on everybody else my whole entire life, focusing on me was just not something that I did.
Did you have to, in many ways, surrender to the treatment and
absolutely.
the program? You have to kind of lose every last bit of pride and say, I'm going to let other people think for me.
Well, it's because in the military you're taught to fight.
Yeah.
You're not ever taught to retreat or surrender ever. But the thing is, it's like it wasn't. I had to surrender to myself because I was very hard-headed, and before the treatment, like it was all or nothing, and it was my way or the highway. And I had to learn how to humble myself and to realize where I was and what was actually happening. I wasn't the person, the staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, in charge of 60 plus people anymore. I was in a situation that I was outranked, and I needed to, shape up. I needed to get a hold of who I was and use this. I used the court as my rank structure. So I brought what I learned in the military that gave me the structure into Veterans Court, and then going through the treatment was difficult, but it was something that I had to do, and it's not something that you can force people to do. They have to be ready to do it, or it could be disastrous. But it was something that I wanted to for so long, and I forced myself to do it a lot of times. But until I felt like somebody had value in me and took a chance on me, I wasn't ready because I didn't have that support that I needed to go through the treatment.
Yeah.
And
So ready.
Without the support, bad things can happen.
Oh, yeah.
And then after I felt I actually had somebody that supported me, I felt like I could finally be vulnerable again. And I could be vulnerable, and I can actually surrender myself to the treatment, because whatever happened outside, that person would have my back and they could take care of it. I didn't have to worry about everything else around me.
Yeah.
So I could worry about what's going on within me.
Yeah.
And
That's,
after that happened,
well
the
said.
treatment took
Yeah,
a while, but my mission was finding me and getting better.
well, it was. I don't know. It's not hard taking chance on guys like you. Like I said, I
But
can't tell you.
but
the
it's hard to
soldiers I saw.
recognize,
Yeah.
who is bullshitter and who is
there's-
somebody genuine, that really needs it, because different people you just take different actions with. Because no PTSD is the same. You can't treat, even if it's the same person with the same unit, same rank, same job, everything. They have two completely different PTSDs.
Yeah,
They need
that's true.
two completely different
Well,
treatments. And it's like, it makes your job very difficult. And
Well,
your job even more difficult.
Thankfully, I got guys like Sergeant
Yeah.
Major, and I got a great treatment team. So I always say I have the easiest job in the courtroom. I get to sit up there and talk, which comes easy to me.
But you have a gift of being able to read people, and when people are bullshitting, you couldn't call them out on it,
Yeah, I think sometimes people need to hear that.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I probably wouldn't use that
Now, a quick
exact
one for
word
you.
in court, but I would say it
The
just as
surrendering.
forcefully.
What does that look like? That's probably the challenge. And then we probably can talk about where you're at now, because
Yeah.
I remember you bike riding. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
So
oh,
what
yeah.
does surrendering look like? And then how did you?
So surrendering to me, like, I kind of had to work it out in my head to where it's like I'd never surrender. So I worked it out to my head to where it's like I'm surrendering to myself and to my future.
Okay.
Because in order for me to move forward, I needed to surrender to what is happening right now in my life. And I am stuck until I can humble myself.
Okay. Humble yourself.
Because once I can get there, that's when healing starts. That's when things get
Surrendering
yeah.
and healing.
Yeah,
Okay.
where-
That's when it starts, because
Okay.
Yeah.
until you can do that, because you can do all the treatment in the world and not get anything from it. You can just go through the motions.
Well, yeah.
If you don't surrender to yourself and actually take in what you're being taught.
To be healed.
Now, Ken, do you, like, for instance, do you still set your alarm clock every 2 hours? Are you afraid of crowds anymore?
No,
I'm just curious, how are you now with you?
like, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life.
That's good. to hear.
Like, I don't really have too many things that I stress out about anymore.
Yeah.
I don't get depressed. I mean, I still have sad days. Like,
everybody does.
I always remember what day it is by how I feel. Because like every April 8th, 2000, even when I don't know what day it is, I know what day it is.
Yeah, like what happened? These are significant
Yeah.
events in your life.
So like I prepare for the events that are happening yearly, and I change them into good situations instead of bad situations.
So like a day where it's say, you lost a buddy. Mm-hmm. You try to do something happy on that day or something.
Well, 12 years after 19 friends passed away, happened to be on Easter. 12 years later, I buried all their pictures underneath the palm tree and planted it in my neighbor's yard. So it was me. It was symbolized me giving the pain away, but I could see it whenever I wanted to look at it. And then it took me 21 years to be able to actually go back to my best friend's grave that I named my son after. And not until then, I was able to give that pain away. And it took me 21 years to go back, even though like I've been there near there several times. I just could not go see his grave. So when I finally did, 21 years after, I was able to just be at peace.
Yeah.
It wasn't sad anymore. I brought him a can of Copenhagen. And like I don't get sad at the things in my life anymore. I mean, everything that happens bad, there's always something good
It's always-
within it.
okay.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, like he's been a big strength in my life, and
Oh, yeah.
it's just my faith with that support. Like, how can
Yeah,
you
a
go
lot.
wrong?
Wow. So you did a lot of great things. I know we've talked over the past. We've coordinated. Our organization was able to send you to be a mentor with Justice for Veterans. But along the way, you've been doing. I remember you were in bicycle. You were the regional director of what is it, a bike organization. Tell us a little bit about where the road back into and all of those kind of activities that you've got that people can see now from where you came from and what you're doing now.
Well, going into the Veterans Center, I mean, even though it was a bad situation going in there, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me because it gave me a new purpose in life.
Wait, when you say, if you guys will forgive me, when you say that this was one of the vet centers?
No, the Veterans Court.
Oh, the Veterans Court.
Yeah, Veterans Court.
I would just say there's a network of vet centers all throughout the U.S. that are great places.
But yeah,
but the vet court,
going into the
yes,
Veterans Court, like it was a bad situation going in there.
Yeah.
But what I got from Veterans Court was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, and I'm glad that I went there. I regret why I got there, but it was the best decision.
Yeah, no,
because
that was.
it put me on the track to where I needed to be on in order to become the person I am now.
Yeah.
And after I graduated, while I was in the program, I started training with cycling, and I did it in a 500-mile bike race from San Francisco to L.A. It was
I remember that.
516 miles
Yeah.
in 6
He's
days.
a big biker, too.
Yeah. I was biking with him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. No, we can't do that. There's a
We
story.
can tell that story on another one.
Yeah.
But biking was it gave me the challenge, and then it gave me the the training again.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie of the people, and it kind of put me in like a piece of and my kind of a meditation state to just go off and ride hundreds of miles and then wherever and come back home. It was amazing.
Okay, tell us about the Joe Rogan show. I tell you, the one thing I like is perhaps Sergeant Major Coker and our podcast isn't quite as popular as his, but we beat him to the punch by about 6 weeks. You're going on. I like Joe. I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, by the way, but you're going on his show.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I've always been political, and working in the political, media for a while now, being more outspoken about what's going on in the world, and some things that I write on Facebook and other platforms get around to certain people, and I got contacted and was requested to be on the podcast, which is great. It's amazing, like just to be able to tell my story, and if I can just help one person out, it's worth it.
What do you say right now? You probably know there's a veteran sitting in a garage somewhere with a bottle of alcohol. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's veterans hurting.
And that's my goal.
What do you say to them? What would you
what
like
kind of
them
message
to
could you
know?
give them?
What message would you say to these veterans to help them?
Well, the first thing is to put the bottle down.
Yeah.
Because the things that alter your mind is not going to help you. You need to know what's happening at the situation, because things that are going to take you down the wrong path, and you could ruin your life, and you can ruin the lives of your family. So think about what you're doing and call somebody. There's always help out there. Like, there's more than enough help out there, but you have to want it more than you want what you're doing. And the best thing is just get the help, get the structure that you need, surround yourself with people that understand what's going on, and then talk with them. Communicate with how you're feeling, learn how to communicate to your children and to your wife, on what's going on with you, because a lot of things you don't understand, and they don't understand even more. And if you don't communicate that and get through it together, you're not going to get through it. So the best thing is to communication. You got to communicate,
You
and
know-
just keep moving forward. You know, never give up. Never give up on yourself, because you know the light is out there. There's always, you know, at the end of the tunnel, you know, there's more. You're gonna gain more than what you've already lost. So just keep moving forward and stay strong, and you'll get there.
Wow.
You might have to go through it more than once, but just keep pushing, and you'll get there. And one day you'll wake up and
I think
you realize that you are a better person now than you've ever been in your life.
I think a lot of people, there's a lot of people like you, me, Sergeant Major, who are just waiting to help these people too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our mission. In
Well,
life,
that's
really.
my new purpose, is like to help people, because
Yeah.
I don't need the money. I got retirement. Like my mission is to help people. Like, I mean, sometimes I'll get called at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, because they're having an argument with a wife. So I'll
Yeah.
drive to their house and do
Yeah.
marriage counseling, you know, and try to explain to, this is what's going on with him, and, you know, pretty much telling them, you know, explain to what's actually happening, teaching
Yeah.
them how to communicate
Yeah.
on what they're
Well,
feeling.
families don't know what's going
No,
on.
no, they
That's
don't.
the biggest thing.
They
That's the
don't.
biggest, because the wives don't understand because their husband's different. The kids don't understand because daddy's different. You don't understand because you're different.
Yeah.
And nobody can communicate what they don't understand. And communication, you got to learn what's happening and what's taking place in order to get through it.
Well, you know, Ken, you were, and you don't like to hear this, you were a hero then, you're a hero now.
Yeah,
and
I
what
agree.
you just shared continues to do that. And we really want to thank you,
Yeah.
Sergeant Major, myself, Greg, Reaching New Heights. Really want to thank you for what you're doing and what you continue to do. Thank you for coming and
Yeah.
talking
Thank
to
you.
us.
Here, let me give you one of these coveted Judge Johnson coins too,
you.
as well.
I'm blessed, you
Yeah,
know, that
thank
I'm in
you,
a
thank you.
situation.
Thank you.
I'm blessed that I'm in a situation that that I have the opportunity to help other people.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
I'm
like if it
thankful.
wasn't for my retirement and stuff, like I wouldn't be able to do the things that I am doing now. And I'm just
And let
I'm
me say
blessed.
one thing too.
Very
I'm
blessed.
glad you're here, and I'm glad you took out that sniper.
Yeah,
So,
there you go. All
Yeah,
right.
me
good.
too.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
God bless.
Hey, folks, thanks. Seriously, thanks for watching. This is tough stuff. If you got, please hit that, what is it, the follow button down below.
Stand tuned to the next one. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
and we just want to do this. We're not getting anything out of it. It's all just to
how
help
they contact
veterans,
you?
and because that is our mission in life. So,
email you.
thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hey, thank you for watching. Hopefully this was very helpful to you, and we share some information that may answer some questions for you. Follow us on social media. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment below if you have any questions or any thoughts. Reaching New Heights Foundation was happy to bring this to you and supporting Veterans Program. Thank you and have a good day.